Today on The Big Question, we are discussing supporting breastfeeding moms in the workplace. Supporting breastfeeding moms in the workplace. The Big Question is where we discuss and prefer solutions to issues affecting us as a nation and as citizens. What has your challenge been as a breastfeeding mom in the workplace? What has your challenge been as a breastfeeding mom in the workplace? I have with me my guest today, Fumilayo Oyefusi, Managing Partner, FTI Consulting, Nigeria. Hello, Fumilayo. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today on The Big Question.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, so first question to you now, Fumilayo. The subject of discussion today is supporting breastfeeding moms in the workplace. Just as I asked earlier, what would you say are some of the challenges that breastfeeding moms face in the workplace?
Thank you very much. One of the challenges is around the policies and the programs in the organization. And it's important for every organization to understand that for us to have an inclusive and a diverse work environment, there is a need to put together policies and programs that will ensure representation and participation of different individuals, irrespective of their demographic variables like age or gender. So the challenge is around having policies and programs in organizations, and also organizations understanding that we need to have everyone on board for effective performance and productivity in organizations.
That's actually a very top answer. But in line with what you've said now, regarding organizations having these policies and programs, let me just ask you, how can corporate organizations, because a lot of blue-collar jobs already, like it or directly or indirectly, can create that space for them, or breastfeeding moms can find their way around blue-collar working environments. You can be working in a store and decide to just go to one corner there to breastfeed your child, and your boss would relatively understand because you're not in the office. But for corporate organizations, how can they accommodate working moms who are breastfeeding? What measures can they put in place to support breastfeeding mothers?
It's actually about deliberately having policies around diversity and inclusion. So we're looking at, organizations are beginning to look at what diversity means and what equity and inclusion means in organizations. So when we're looking at diversity, we're thinking around leadership, recognizing that each and every one of us has innate worth. We have something unique that we can contribute to the organization performance. We have diverse skills, we have experiences that we can use to complement each other. So the skills that a man has, a woman can bring another set of skills that will complement it and ensure an effective performance in organization. So the way organization can support working moms is first having that policy around diversity, equity, providing adequate opportunities and the resources that would enable everybody to add value to the organization irrespective of their gender. And then you can also look around policies on inclusion. So inclusion would make us to understand that every individual is unique, and we need to create an environment where they feel belonged and where they can contribute to the progress of the organization. So for organizations, corporate organizations accommodating working moms, is to understand that we need to have these policies around these three key principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And also understanding that the female gender needs to fulfill their gender roles, which is a part of it is breastfeeding. So this should not affect their cognitive skills. It shouldn't affect their productivity and ability to add value to the organization. So leadership needs to consciously work on the policies around these three key principles that will make everybody to feel included and feel valued.
That's actually very important. Now, coming back to you, Fumilayo. Breastfeeding moms do not find it easy returning to the workplace because of the pressures that come along with work. You did say that cognitive skills should not be placed on the same scale with fulfilling the gender roles, because it shouldn't interrupt their gender roles as breastfeeding moms should not necessarily interrupt anything that has to do with their intellect and their cognitive skills. But how do breastfeeding mothers manage the pressures of the workplace? workplace, being that they have to deliver at work and they know that things will not necessarily be the same when it comes to having access to their children, being able to breastfeed them at any time their child needs to be breastfed. How would they manage those pressures?
All right, thank you. So breastfeeding moms are co-workers like any other gender in the workplace.
Yes.
And so I'll start with the point of the woman understanding that, look, I play diverse roles. I'm a mother, I'm a worker, I'm a wife, and all of that. And try and get organized so that you're not seen to be slacking in your responsibilities at work. I mean, a lot of organizations and leadership would, they'll give you the benefit of that, okay, you have to do this. But again, you cannot afford to be slacking and give excuses that because I am not a nursing mother, I cannot deliver on my roles. So getting organized will require that following the break times in the organization, you can also make sure that you're timing the feeding of the child, of course, with the support of a minder. If the organization is inclusive enough, they should have a crèche within the premises. Or if there is no space within the organization, they can actually find a crèche that is around the office that would enable the mother to take a regular break and go and breastfeed the baby. But again, it's also training the baby to know that at certain times, this is the time for feeding. And if you have a minder, it's very helpful. You can express the milk in the bottle or supplements if the child is above 6 months, as the medical people would say, that after 6 months, you can go off exclusive breastfeed. So if you have a minder that can help, you can have the minder help feed the baby at that time. And when it's your break time, you take the break and go and be with your baby, bond with the baby, and breastfeed the baby and give the baby what they desire. So it's two-way thing. One is the mother being organized and, knowing that I play diverse roles and I need not slack in my responsibility. The second is the organization also supporting to make sure that there is a crèche around so that the mother can fulfill their roles. And most organizations, within the 1 year of returning back from your maternity leave, you can also have flexible working time.
Okay.
Like resume an hour late or close an hour earlier than every other person. So it will help you to organize yourself on the time to feed the baby, on the time to bond with the baby while you're still delivering on your core work in the workplace. So it's both ways, organization supporting and the mother also getting organized.
That's actually a very important point. The mother's organization on both sides, organization on the mother's side and the organization itself also putting intentional measures in place to support the mother who's going through this transition process, as it were.
Absolutely.
So thank you again for that. Would you say that a lot of Nigerian organizations are aware about these policies and programs? Do you think they implement them? Do you think they even know, let alone implement them?
I think the development sector is very aware of these policies and programs, and they have put a lot of things in place. They have organizational policies that are supportive. But I think the corporate organizations, the private sector needs a lot of catching up to do. I wouldn't know how many percentage, but I know that in the development sector, in the government sector, we could say about 80% of organizations are aware of this policy. So they have, starting with maternity leave, health insurance, providing crèche in the workplace, or alternately providing funds for a nearby crèche, flexible resumption and closing hours or break times, and then clear deliverables for every employee. So we're not removing the female gender from the workplace from adding value, but it's also making them feel valued and inclusive by having this program in place that would enable them to be a mother and also contribute to the success and the progress of the organization, and also their own personal growth. Because if you have the key performance indicators, the key deliverables, and a good performance management system, I know as a working mother that these are my deliverables, and I'm not going to slack around it because the organization would not accept the excuse that because I'm fulfilling my gender roles. So a lot of development sector organizations are up and running about these policies and programs, but we need to also encourage the private sector and other sectors of the economy to take a cue from this and make sure that we have a diverse and inclusive organization where everybody can bring in value and they can also contribute to the effective performance of the organization.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fumilayo. 2 more questions and we'll wrap up. It was actually just one question before, but this one just occurred to me, and I felt, you know what, I need to talk about this. In a lot of quest for, or in the quest for gender equality, there have been conversations about the role that the man plays. Because as we speak, we live in a male-dominated world. We know that our government is majorly male-dominated as well. So a lot of policies that have stemmed from the top government level have not necessarily included a lot of female consideration in it. So trickling it down to the workplaces now, what would you say would be the contribution of men who are in positions of power in the workplaces to support women, to support breastfeeding moms at work?
Okay, so for the men, and most men are in the leadership, some women are there. But for men, it's to also recognize the importance and the cognitive ability of the female gender. It's not because we are female. It's not because of our sexual orientation or our makeup that we can't be leaders. We need to start thinking around what is this person bringing on board? What's the value addition? And our ideas say that a lot of organizations that don't have women at leadership level, and even in the country, they are the ones missing out. Because there is a lot of value addition that people have. A lot of female gender are very intelligent. They're intellectuals. They have the cognitive abilities. They have what it takes to run an organization. So they are the ones missing out. So in order for us to be more effective, in order for us to harness the values and everything that a female employee can bring on board, we need to start creating that environment, enabling environment that will make the female gender to thrive in the workplace. And like I said earlier, if you put the performance management system in place and it's very robust, everybody understands what is my deliverable, what am I contributing to the entire goal of the organization or to the strategic objectives of the organization. And I also want to be proud to say that I was part of this organization and I contributed my quota. So the leadership, the men in the leadership position needs to create that enabling environment and maybe recognize the unconscious bias that they have towards the female gender, overcome them because you have them as daughters, you have them as sisters, you have them as wives, overcome that bias, create an enabling environment for your female employees to add value in terms of their skill, their experiences, and harness the cognitive abilities of everyone in the organization for effective performance and for effectiveness across board.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better. Thank you very much, Funmilayo. Finally,
you're welcome.
The World Health Organization, along with other relevant international health bodies, have called for workplaces, and just listen to this, have called for workplaces to grant women 6 months maternity leave to be able to fulfill 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding. Do you think Nigerian companies will heed this advice?
I think Lagos State has already started. I know that even outside the country, in East Africa, they've already started implementing as far back as 2015. So it will be a great benefit. Give them the necessary time to go off, fulfill their gender roles. And when they come back refreshed. And when they come back, it's not just for us to just allow them to go to their desk. It's also to reorientate them back into work. I'm an HR practitioner, so when a female employees come back, it's to support that female employees. Okay, these are the things that have happened while you were away.
Yes.
So it's like a kind of a reinduction into the system. These are the policies that we now have. These are the processes. This is what you're entitled to, 1 hour break. You can close early or you can resume early, whichever one you want. And then you have this opportunity for the next 1 year. And these are your core deliverables and we're here to support you. So it is possible that we can have that 6 months maternity leave policy. Some organizations still do 3 months, some do 4 months, but 6 months will be okay. Because by that time, even the woman can come back to work without her child. Because there is a nanny that can take care of the child at 6 months. But if you ask them to come back at 3 months or 4 months, they have to come back with the baby because the baby has not been weaned. The baby only depends on breastfeeding, and some might have issues expressing the breast milk and keeping, which could also, affect the health of the child.
Absolutely.
So if we have a 6 month, it gives the mother enough time to breastfeed the baby, do exclusive breastfeeding, and make sure that the baby is strong enough, has enough immunity to stay for a couple of hours before she returns from work. So that 6 months, it's possible, it's feasible. And if organizations and the nation is also keen into this policy, we're basically doing diversity and inclusion within the system. And we're encouraging people to come with what they have, what value they have to contribute to the organization and the nation at large.
Thank you very much for those words, Funmilayo. Thank you very much for joining us today on The Big Question. This has been a very enlightening conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Funmilayo Oyefusi, Managing Partner, FTI Consulting Nigeria, is the guest you just listened to, and she was talking on supporting breastfeeding moms in the workplace. It's not easy, but it's something that is very feasible, according to Funmilayo Oyefusi. Thank you very much for tuning in to The Big Question today.